so far we've been talking about really the metaphysical views, maybe the epistemological views, the theory of knowledge that various pre-Socratic philosophers had. But let's now turn to the ethical views of the characters in our story. Now, in the pre-philosophy people, there are epic poets, Homer, in the Odyssey, the Iliad, in Hesiod's Theogony and his other poems. The gods are setting examples for how to behave. The gods and the heroes set the examples, and the moral lessons are to be learned from the behavior of the gods and heroes. Looking at the virtues of the gods and the heroes tell us what we should strive to do. So there's an ethics that gets involved. We see it's problematic because sometimes the gods do some things that are pretty rotten. Then we move on to the Milesians and the rest of the pre-Socratics. And they did have views, but there's not enough text evidence to really put together a complete view on ethics. And in addition to which, they're better known, or what we know about them, really comes from their views on metaphysics and primarily what Aristotle had to say. Aristotle's focus on what they had to say. That is, until the Sophists. Because the Sophists have an answer to Parmenides. That is, their answer is there is no absolute truth. Man is the measure of all things, and if there's no absolute truth, there's no absolute right or wrong. There are no absolute values. It's each man for himself. He's out to protect his own interest. That's where the Sophists line up. There is no truth. They're not pursuing truth because there isn't truth. Socrates, by contrast, is pursuing philosophy. Philosophy is the pursuit of truth, the pursuit of knowledge. And where it really is brought home is in his views on ethics, which is where much of what we hear about Socrates is focused. His views on ethics. So here is the point of departure for the rest of the story for our subject. And from here we're going to move on to the early Platonic dialogues and then move on to the middle dialogues, or the middle dialogue, the Republic, and see what Plato's view is. But now we have another thing that we still need to spend a little time on before we can get to that, and that is the question of how do we make decisions about this? And we're going to spend a little while on logic, learning a little bit about logic and how logic might help us decide.